Content-based instruction is focused on using the target language to teach content from other disciplines so the student acquire language skill while learning about a specific topic, making the learning process meaningful and practical. The principle of content-based instruction first is integration of language and content. Language is used as a tool to understand and discuss a real-world topic. Second, focus on meaning. Emphasis of the emphasis is on understanding and communicating ideas, not just grammar and vocabulary. Third is engagement. The lessons are built around topic that interest students, keeping them motivated. Fourth is active participation. The students are encouraged to interact with the material through discussion, problem solving, and activity. Five, and the last one is authenticity. The the real world material like news article, videos, or case studies are used to create a guinea learning experience. The technique of content-based instruction. First is thematic unit. The lessons are organized around a theme like climate change or the solar system. Second is scaffolding. The teacher provides support by pre-teaching vocabulary, giving example or guide discussion to help students to understand the materials. Third is use of authentic materials. The real-life resources such as newspaper, videos, or research report make the learning more relatable. And the fourth is collaborative activity. Group discussion, debate, or project help the student practice language skill while exploring the content. And the last technique is task-based learning. So the student complete the task, example, writing a report or creating a presentation, and that require them to use the language in meaningful ways. Method where the focus on the teaching student how to communicate effectively in the target language. And the goal is to make the student comfortable in using the language for real-life purpose like talking, writing, and understanding others. The principles of communicative language teaching. First is communication is the key. The main aims is to develop student ability to express themselves and understand others. Second is focus on meaning. Lessons are centered on conveying message, not just grammar or perfect accuracy. Third is student-centered learning. The students are actively participants practicing language in the realistic and meaningful context. Fourth is fluency over perfection. Emphasis is on being understood rather than speaking perfectly. Five is authentic language use. Real-world material and situation are used to practice the language. The technique of communicative language teachings is first, role plays. The student act out a real-life situation like ordering food at the restaurant or asking for direction. Second, pair and group work. Activity like conversation or problem solving tasks help students practicing speaking. Game and activity. Language game makes learning fun while encouraging a communication. Fourth is information gap. Students work together to share the information they have to complete a task. And the last is task-based learning. The student perform a real-world task such as planning a trip or writing a mail. Task-based language teaching. Task-based language teaching is focused on using the language to accomplish a specific task. The main goal is to develop a student ability to communicate actively by actively using the language in the realistic context. The principle of this teaching method is first, tasks as the core unit. The lessons are centered around tasks that have a clear goal and outcome. Second, focus on meaning. Emphasis is on communication and understanding rather than the grammar rules. Third is authenticity. The task mimic a real-world situation to make learning relevant and practical. Fourth is active engagement. The students are encouraged to use the language to solve the problem and share idea or complete objectively. And the fifth is feedbacks and reflection. The teacher provide feedback after tasks to help the student improve their language skill. The technique of task-based language teaching. First is pre-task. Introduce the task, explain the goals, and provide useful vocabulary or structure. Second is task cycle. The student work on the task, usually in pairs or groups, using the language to complete it. The third is post-task. Reflect on the task, analyze language use and the correct mistake. And the fourth is use of a real material. Include on the task. Fourth is use of real material. Include menus, brochure, or maps to make the task more realistic. And the last technique is integration of skill. So the task involves multiple skills such as speaking, listening, reading, and writing. The strength of communicative language teaching. First is a real-life communication. The student learn how to use the language in everyday conversation and situation. Second is improve fluency. So it is focused on speaking naturally and expressing ideas, not just perfect grammar. Third is for fun and interactive. Use activity like role play, games, and group work to make a learning enjoyable. Fourth is encourage creativity. The student practice use the language creatively to solve problem or share opinion. Five is focus on meaning. It helps students understand and convey ideas instead to memorizing the rules. And the weakness of communicative language teaching is first, less grammar focus. So some students might not learn grammar thoroughly because the focus in the communication. Second, challenges for the beginners. So it can be hard from the beginners who don't have in enough vocabulary or basic knowledge of the language. Third is need skilled teacher. The teacher must know how to guide a communication and correct mistake without discouraging student. Fourth is can be messy. The group activity and discussion may lead to errors that are not always corrected immediately. Five is not always structured. Some students may feel lost of lesson are not well organized. Range of task-based learning, task-based language teaching. First is practical learning. It helps students to use the language in the real-life situation. Second, focus on communication. It improves fluency and confidence by encouraging students to talk and express themselves. Third is motivating. The tasks are meaningful and fun, yes. So the student can stay engaged. Fourth is integrate skill. This method combines the speaking, listening, and reading and writing in a natural way. And the last is promote the problem solving. So the student think critically and work together to complete tasks. So what is the weakness of task-based language teaching? The weakness is first, it can be challenging for the beginners. The student with a limited vocabulary or grammar may struggle to complete the task. This method also less of grammar focus. The grammar may not be taught directly, which can leave gaps in the understanding of students. The next weakness is time consuming. Preparing and completing the task can take more time than traditional method. Next is uneven participant. In group activity, some students may dominate while the others can stay quiet. And the last weakness is need skilled of teacher. So the teacher must carefully guide activity and provide a feedback to help the student improve. The strength of content-based learning. First strength is interesting and fun. The student learn a language by studying topics they enjoy and make a lesson more engaging. Second, a real-life use. So, this method focuses on the practical skill and topic that help the student use the language in the real situation. Third is improve all skill. This method also combines speaking, listening, reading, and writing naturally. Fourth is encourage thinking. The students solve the problem and share ideas, improving a critical thinking. And the fifth is keep the student motivated. Learning meaningful content make the student more excited to learn. So, and the last strength is explore culture. Include the student introduce the student to the new ideas and the culture while learning the language. The weakness of content-based learning. First is this method is too difficult. If the topic is too hard, the student may feel lost and frustrated. And second is a lack of grammar practice. This method the grammar in this method is not taught directly. It which can leave the gap in the student understanding. Third is uneven practice. Some skill, like speaking or writing, might not get enough focus on this method. Fourth is takes time to prepare. Finding or creating a good materials can be hard to teacher. And the last is not great for beginners. It can be challenging for the student who don't know the basic of the language.